Hello everyone, Voodoo here, and welcome to the Midnight Prepatch Devourer Guide. It's finally here. So, as you all know, I am the Wowhead and Icy Veins Devourer Guide writer. So, if you want a written version of this guide, go check out those websites. The information will be the same. Word Up also helped me write Icy Veins, so shout out to him. So, great stuff here. Talents, rotations, all that stuff. Like, comment, and subscribe, and we're just gonna get right into it because it's finally here. All right, so obviously the very first thing you're going to want is talent builds, and these are going to be the best talent builds for Devourer in the pre-patch. What you see before you here is the best Devourer talent build for single target in the raid. You'll notice a few things. First off, this is a Void Scarred talent build, which means it does use the melee talents. I will provide a non-melee version after. On top of that, it also doesn't make use of Collapsing Star. On the pre-patch, Collapsing Star is just not strong enough for Void Scarred without the Apex talent, which is quite strong. Because of this, Devour, our single target's filler spell, is actually better in pure single target. You will use this on 3+ targets, but on a pure single target, Collapsing Star is just not really that valuable for Void Scarred. If you don't like playing the melee talents, if you want to play a more traditional ranged build and make use of Collapsing Star, then this talent tree here, Annihilator Single Target, or Annie, is going to be for you. This talent build features a much more classical ranged caster playstyle, and also does make use of Collapsing Star and summons a lot of pretty pink meteors, which is also very fun there. So this build is about 3 to 4% behind, somewhere in that range, in single target. So if you don't like the melee talents, if you want to play a more traditional build, if you want to play with the Collapsing Star talent all the time, then this build here is going to be for you. For Mythic Plus, Annihilator or Annie is actually our best option. You'll notice here the build actually doesn't change very much, which is actually quite good because that means you still maintain a lot of single target. Annihilator is very good in Mythic Plus, where you can ramp up your pull times and have, massive pulls with a lot of enemies in them that last pretty decent amount of time. Not even like that long, but don't just blow up instantly, basically. In those fights, you're able to ramp into really large Collapsing Stars, really large Eradicates, and also make use of the very strong, consistent AOE of Voidfall. Again, the meteors are just very pretty, very pink destruction. In shorter keys or lower keys or keys where, there just isn't as much uptime or fights aren't as long, then Void Scarred Cleave is going to be very, very good. And this is also the build I would recommend for a lot of the raid fights in Mana Forge Omega that have a lot of cleave to them. So in essence, basically, if you want to play pure single target, Void Scarred raid. If you want to play a single target but don't like the Void Scarred stuff or the melee stuff, then I'm not going to be playing Annihilator or any single target. For Mythic Plus, you will play Annihilator AOE, which is very similar to this talent tree, but slightly different again, just for more, you're picking up Eradicate, which is really good AOE, you're picking up Soul Glutton, which is very good, cooldown coverage basically. And then in low keys or in raid cleave, I would play this build here, although this actually should be that. My bad. And there you go. Those are your talent builds. With that, we're gonna go to rotation. All right, so we are going to start off with the Void Scarred single target rotation. Now, the thing with both rotations is that Void Scarred and Annihilator in both AOE and single target play very similarly to the other version. So Void Scarred single target plays very similar to Void Scarred AOE. You just add in Collapsing Star. Annihilator AOE plays very similar to Annihilator single target. So I'm going to do one for each, but A, the written guides have it in greater detail, and B, you should get the gist of it from just watching this. So with that, we're going to start off with our single target rotation for Void Scarred. So rotations and openers for Devourer are a little bit different because of how their system works, their cooldowns. For Void Scarred, you have a fairly standard opener, but it will depend a bit on procs you get and stuff like that. So you basically want to build up to your first meta and then use it. So how we do that is we're going to start off with a consume as the pull starts. Then use the hunt in, use Hungering Slash and Vengeful Retreat, Void Blade, Hungering Slash, Vengeful Retreat, and then you queue a consume midair. From here, we're going to use consume up until we get to Void Ray. So we're going to build up until we get to Void Ray. This will depend on your procs. We're going to channel Void Ray, use Reap, enter Void meta. Then we're going to Void Ray again, use any trinkets here. Then we're going to hunt in, Predator's Wake, backslash, Pierce the Veil, Hungering Slash, backslash, jump back again, and then from here we're just going to spam Devour until we no longer can be in meta, basically. So spamming Devour, we're using I-Beam on cooldown. We are not using Reap at all. For Void Scarred, you only use Reap with Moment of Craving, and if it will get you to your next Void meta, which it won't in this situation, We're going to drop out here, and then we just repeat ourselves. We basically just push consume until we can't anymore. Use Void Blade, Hungry Slash, and Retreat off cooldown. Use Void Ray on cooldown, and just cycle through this this rotation basically until we get back to our next Void meta. We're going to go into one more Void meta because I just want to show you guys what I'm talking about with Moment of Craving. So I'm not using Reap at all, but once I get to 25 souls collected, I will use it because it's going to trigger me into my next Void Ray immediately. We're going to use that, use our, Void Ray, and we're going to Predator's Wake in, Reaper's Toll, backflip, Pierce the Veil, Reaper's Toll, backflip, and then we're going to just keep pushing Devourer until we get to another Void Ray and eventually drop out of meta. And that's basically going to be your single target rotation for Void Guard. It should be pretty like cyclical and pretty straight up and repeated, where all you're doing is just pushing Devourer for the most part because it deals so much damage. It's hard to push anything that's not that. You can go around and manually collect souls here to just extend your time in Void meta a little bit longer and just get more stuff there. And then, you know, just use the Hunt on cooldown, use Void Blade on cooldown, Void Ray on cooldown, and that is basically it for the single target rotation for Devourer. For AOE, for Void Guard, it's the exact same. All you're going to do is just use, we'll be done with that. You'll use Eradicate when it pops up, and you'll use Collapsing Star whenever you have it. That's basically the only differences for AOE and single target for Void Guard. But of course, check out the written guide if you want more information there. All right, we are here with Annihilator AOE. Now, again, the thing here between AOE and single target is that they're very similar for them. Only thing that changes is that you take Emptiness instead of Soul Glut, which means you'll need twice as many souls to start up. And you don't take Eradicate, you take Void Glare Boon instead. The only real tangible difference between single target and AOE for Annihilator is the fact that you use Eradicate more than you'd use Reap. But we can go over those, of course, when we're actually playing this. So pretty simply, all you're going to do is just push Consume until you can push Void Ray. Generally speaking, on the very first pull, this will take a little bit because of the fact that you just have nothing. So you just push Consume until you can either push Void Ray or you have 3 stacks of Void Fall. And at that point, you just push whatever comes first. So Void Ray comes up, we're going to use it. As soon as we have 3 stacks of Void Fall, we use Eradicate there. We can go into Void meta here, but we're going to build back up to another Void Ray instead just to get more souls in the ground. Use Void meta, use Void Ray again. Then use Eradicate, and from here we are just simply going to try and build up to our first Collapsing Star. So the only way you do that again is you just push Devourer until you either have a Void Ray proc, an Eradicate proc, or 3 stacks of Void Fall, and then you push Collapsing Star. It's going to start to deal a ton of damage. You can normally get 2 in a short window, again on 5 targets. Again, it'll depend how many targets you're facing for how many Collapsing Star you can get. But yeah, that's basically it. You want to try and use Eradicate whenever you have a Moment of Craving up. But you can hold on to it until you get Void Fall stacks. You don't have to reap too much. We're going to spend this here because we get another Collapsing Star. And that's basically it. You use Eradicate if it will trigger Void Fall if you have 10 souls, or if it will get you to either Void meta or Collapsing Star. Otherwise, you push the buttons. Basically, use Eradicate if you're going to use Void Ray, or your Moment of Craving is about to go away, or it will get you into a Void meta. It's pretty straightforward. I don't really have too many more tips here. As you can see between what I'm doing here, I am just pushing Consume, pushing Void Ray when it's available, pushing Reap when it will proc Void Fall, pushing Moment of Craving buffed Eradicate every time I can because it's so strong, and pushing Collapsing Star on cooldown. And that's basically the rotation for both single target and AOE. The only difference for a single target, if we were to play a single target for a second, is that we will not push Eradicate as much because we don't have it. So basically, you only push Reap whenever it will proc Void Fall. That's like the only difference for single target. And that's just basically Annihilator in a nutshell. Nothing too crazy, nothing too complex. It is a very streamlined experience. It does do very good AoE damage. And honestly, it's pretty chill just pushing these buttons over and over and over again. So give it a try. With rotation and talents out of the way, the next big thing is stats. And stats for Devourer are pretty straightforward. For Void Guard, it's pretty easy. You want to do Mastery basically above everything else, followed by Haste and then Crit and Burst. Haste is still pretty good, but Mastery is just insane, turbo, broken, bonkers for Void Guard. Crit's fine, okay. Versatility is pretty bad and probably better off avoided for Void Guard. For Annihilator, the order depends a bit on if you're doing more Mythic Plus or single target. For single target, haste is going to be the absolute best stat, and it's not that close. Mastery is still very good. It's going to be your second stat, followed by crit, which is fine, and then versatility. But again, haste is still very, very good. In Mythic Plus for Annihilator, it changes a little bit. Haste is still your best, and it's still very good, but mastery is almost equal to haste in this situation. Crit also gains some value, but it's just not better than the other two, so like who cares. And then verse is still the worst. So to sum that up, basically in single target for Void's Guard, mastery followed by haste followed by crit followed by verse. And then for Annihilator, it depends a bit on AOE or single target. In AOE, it'll be haste pretty much equal to mastery followed by crit followed by verse, and single target it'll be haste followed by mastery followed by crit followed by verse. For trinkets, Devourer has a few pretty good trinket options. The best ones are going to be Lily of the Eternal Weave and the Diamantine Void Core from Fractalus. Lily of the Eternal Weave is a very strong on-use mastery trinket that pairs very well with the cooldown timings that Devourer finds itself with in pre-patch. Likewise, this mastery is incredibly strong when we use our Void's Guard, our Void meta, everything is Void in the spec, where all of your damage is concentrated, which means it's a very large increase of damage there. Diamantine Void Core is one of a few really powerful passive trinket options that Devourer has access to. It's an equip that gives you mastery, but also gives you a proc that increases your intellect, which is very strong. This also has synergy with the weapon from Nexus King Saladar, which Devourer also wants to pick up, causing its weapon effect damage, I guess, to deal more damage whenever Void Core proc is up. Other really strong options, if you can't get your hand on Diamantine Void Core, are the egg from Arakara, I don't remember its name off the top of my head, and the Ashrikan Parapoda, which are just both very, very good passive effects. If you can't get a Lily, but have an Araz from Raz's Ritual Forge from playing Havoc, that is also a very good on-use effect, but is worse than Lily. So try and seek those items out. If you are looking to use Dinars, I don't even know if they're still usable in pre-patch, but if they are, there is your order for spending them. So your number one thing should be the boots from Soul Hunters. That's just going to be very powerful throughout pre-patch. If you don't care about pre-patch, you can kind of skip this. From there, you want to pick up the sword from Nexus King, followed by Lily of the Eternal Weave, followed by one of the handful of passive effect options you have in the order of Diamantine Void Core, followed by Ashrikan Parapoda, followed by the egg from Arakara, which I still can't remember the name of. It'll be on screen for you guys. Finally, for crafting, the best crafted item is going to be an offhand Warglaive with haste and mastery, as well as the on-crafted effect of Ascendance. The reason we use this, and we're going to use this in all scenarios, is that the rest of the embellishments don't really give us the stats we're looking for, and the haste and mastery you can get from this proc is very, very strong, even if you won't always get it all the time. For our second embellishment, we're going to craft on our wrists haste mastery again with the Riving Narrowbar Armor Patch to double the effect of our Ascendancy and just give us more stats, basically. It's all about stats. Get as many stats as you want. And there we go. That is going to be the very quick Devourer guide. Oh, I am stuck in the Void Storm. 1 second. Okay, we're back in my room here. So I froze there. For pre-patch for Devourer, there are some weird things happening, specifically because of the fact that the Apex isn't around. And the Apex not being around does mean that Collapsing Star is a lot worse for Void's Guard and single target. But otherwise, the spec does play fairly similarly. You'll get shorter metas, you'll get less stars overall because, you know, the Apex is very powerful and it's not there. But it is still a very enjoyable spec in my opinion, and it does seem to be positioned quite well for pre-patch if you care about that, I guess. If you want anything more in depth, please check out the written guides I've done. There also are other videos from other creators. I believe Nintern made one and Jedeth made one as well before I got this one up. I've been busy writing some guides, and also I was skiing, so that was fun. But yeah, so check out the Wowhead or Icy Veins guides. They're both linked down below. The information is going to be similar between the two of them, just presented in a different way. So, you know, read both of them, see whichever one gets the point across for you better. But all the topics covered in this video are going to be explored more in depth down there. Choices about why we do things, enchants, which I didn't cover here, more trinket options, more rotational options, stuff like that. So everything you want down there. But I hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. If you have any questions, let them, you know, comment them. I will answer. Or you can join me in my Discord. It is also linked down below. Devourer is here. Demon Hunter officially has 2 DPS specs, which means I am way more than twice as busy, but twice as busy on the content front here on YouTube. So hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you guys next time. Peace. A big thank you to everyone who watches my videos, but a special shout out to my channel members. Thank you, Fear Redefined, Rohan Karnik, Correlated, Alexander Trifunovic, Loose Change, Soul Ray, Basu Terceros, Zuligan, Dupin, Spaghetti, Gabriel Correa, Magic Man 133, and Philip Darren Dark Terror. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate every single one of you, especially everybody who watches the videos, but also especially the channel members. If you want to help support the channel and get your name shouted out at the end of the video, as well as some other stuff, you can become a channel member down below. I appreciate everybody for watching, liking, commenting though. See you guys next time. Peace.